Every day, without even noticing it, we say things that quietly shape the way we think, feel, and act. I can't do this. I'm terrible at that. That's just how I am. They sound harmless enough, don't they? But what if those little phrases are doing more than describing your life? What if they're actually helping build the walls around it? That's exactly where Anna found herself. Anna wasn't lazy, and she wasn't lacking intelligence. She was simply tired. Tired of hesitating, tired of second-guessing herself, tired of hearing the same sentence echo in her mind every time something felt difficult. I can't. At work, when a new system was introduced, she'd look at the screen and feel that old familiar knot in her stomach. At home, when she tried to learn something new, the same thought would return, almost automatically, like a reflex. I can't do this, she'd mutter, half to herself, half to the air. And the strange thing is, the more she said it, the more true it seemed. Then one afternoon, while listening to a talk that she nearly ignored, Anna heard something that stopped her cold. The speaker mentioned the Sapir-Whorf Hypothesis, the idea that language doesn't just reflect reality, but can also influence how we perceive it. Not in some magical, mystical way, but in a real, practical, human way. The words we use can shape attention, emotion, and even the choices we believe are available to us. Anna sat there, quietly stunned. Could it really be that the problem wasn't only what she was facing, but how she was naming it? Think about that for a moment. If you keep telling yourself a task is impossible, your brain starts treating it like a closed door. But if you change the wording, even slightly, the door doesn't disappear. It just starts to look less final. Instead of "I can't do this," what about "I can't do this yet"? Instead of "I always fail," what about "I'm still learning"? Those tiny shifts may sound simple, but they can change the emotional weight of a moment. And that's where things get fascinating. Because language isn't just something we use to talk to other people. It's also the script we use to talk to ourselves. It can tighten our limits or loosen them. It can make a challenge feel like a dead end, or like a path that hasn't been finished yet. In a very real sense, words can act like mental commands, repeating through the day until they start to feel like truth. Anna didn't change overnight, but she did begin to notice the phrases she used most, and that was the beginning of something much bigger. And once she started listening to her own inner language, she realized the real question wasn't whether words matter. It was which words were quietly running her life, and what might happen if she changed them. Anna didn't notice it at first. She had spent years saying the same little phrase in the same tired voice. I can't learn this. I can't change now. I can't keep up. And the strange thing was, the more she said it, the more fixed it all seemed to become, as if the sentence itself had locked a door inside her mind. Then, one evening, while scrolling through an article she almost ignored, she stumbled on an idea that felt almost unsettling. The Sapir-Whorf Hypothesis. The basic thought was simple but powerful. Language doesn't just describe reality. It can shape the way we experience it. Not in some magical, all-powerful way, but subtly, constantly, through the words we choose again and again. Anna sat back in her chair and actually whispered, "Hang on. If that's true, what have I been telling myself all these years?" And that's where things started to shift. Because once she began listening to her own inner speech, she noticed how often it sounded less like support and more like a warning system. This is too hard. I'm just not good at that. People at me don't do things like this. Those weren't harmless throwaway lines. They were tiny mental scripts, repeated so often they had become familiar pathways in her brain. The more she used them, the easier it became for her mind to return there automatically. It was as if each sentence was laying another stone in the same narrow road. But language can work the other way too. Anna tried a small experiment. Instead of saying, "I can't do this," she began with, "I can't do this yet." That one word didn't erase the challenge, but it changed the shape of it. Yet, open a window where before there had only been a wall. When a task felt overwhelming, she stopped saying, "I'm terrible at this," and tried, "I'm still learning." It sounded simple, almost too simple, but the effect was real. Her shoulders loosened. Her breathing changed. The task didn't magically become easy, but it no longer felt like a verdict on her identity. That's the quiet power of reframing language. It doesn't deny difficulty. It gives the brain a different way to organize it. And once you see it, you start hearing those phrases everywhere, in work, in relationships, in the stories people tell themselves about age, failure, confidence, even time. I'm too old. It's too late. That's just how I am. Each one can become a kind of command, unless you learn to question it. And maybe that's the real turning point here. Not whether words are positive or negative, but whether they keep us trapped or open us up. So what phrase keeps showing up in your own head, day after day? And if you change just one word, how different might the next chapter sound? Ana ficou silencio for a moment, almost as if she was hearing her own thoughts for the first time. The room around her was the same, the kettle still humming in the kitchen, the afternoon light still spilling across the bench, but something inside her had shifted. I can't no longer sounded like a fact. It sounded like a habit. And once she could hear it as a habit, she could start to change it. That's the quiet power of language. Not magic, not wishful thinking, but a small and constant influence on how we interpret the world, on how we react, and even on what we believe is possible. When Anna began replacing "I can't" with "I haven't worked it out yet," she wasn't lying to herself. She was giving her brain a different instruction. One closed the door, the other left it open. And that's where the Sapir-Whorf idea becomes so fascinating. The words we use don't simply sit on top of reality like labels on a box. They can shape the way we notice things, remember them, and respond to them. If you keep telling yourself something is impossible, your mind starts looking for proof. It becomes very good at finding reasons to stop. But if you change the frame, even slightly, your brain begins scanning for solutions instead. The problem may still be there, but your relationship to it changes. Anna saw it in small moments first. The next time she felt overwhelmed, she didn't say, "This is too much." She paused and said, "This is a lot, but I can take one step." It sounds simple, almost too simple, but those words matter. Because language doesn't just describe our inner world. It helps build it. And maybe that's the real takeaway here. The phrases we repeat every day are not harmless background noise. They become grooves. They become expectations. They become the tone of our inner life. So if there's one phrase that keeps shrinking your world, it might be worth asking, is that really the truth, or just the sentence you've practiced the most? If this made you look at your own self-talk a bit differently, give the video a like. And think about this for a moment. What is the one word or phrase you say to yourself most often, and what has it been quietly doing to your life? If you want more simple, science-based ideas like this, make sure you subscribe because the way we speak to ourselves is only the beginning.